Hello everybody. It was a little bit over a week and a half, I think, since my last stream. I've been working some OT lately, some overtime, and have not even thought about the game until this morning. But my project is mostly done and now it's up for code review at work, so I can finally get back to the fun stuff, which is trying to both learn how to digital paint, which I kind of know how to do. I've cobbled together a bunch of tutorials trying to figure it out, and use my sparse knowledge to try to paint pulp art style retro fantasy character profiles for each of the 4 classes in my game. So there's going to be Barbarian, which I'm working on now, and then Rogue, Warlock, and Mage. And so far, Barbarian's actually coming along better than I was expecting. So I worked on that all this morning. And getting there, I'm trying to go for like a 80s hair metal Fabio-esque look here. And I'm specifically using a Photoshop brush that makes it look, it's like a graphite pencil brush, but I've added color to make it look like it's either screen printed or it has that kind of lower detail style. Or maybe not lower detail is the right word. I'll show you my reference board. I'm kind of going for like a, let me actually pull up Pinterest here quick. Oh no, it wasn't Pinterest. So I found the best resource, and I will share the link somehow, probably on my Twitter account. But I found this Internet Archive link to a bunch of pulp art magazines. So when I think I've been saying that a lot in the stream, I can finally show you what I mean. I mean this. When I've been saying pulp art, I mean this style. So if you think about sci-fi fantasy magazines from, and like westerns, romance, all that kind of style from the 40s, I even want to say 40s to the 70s, 80s had this kind of look. And I love it. And so I'm trying to emulate it. 2 mixed results. When when you think something looks really good, then you come back and look at it and you get horrified. That happened just before I started the stream. My guy's head was way too big, so I shrunk it down. And now, the problem with shrinking it down after the fact is... hold on, go away. There you go. The problem with shrinking it down after the fact is all the details get like interpolated together, so you can see all the roughness here, and then here it's all looking much more like I wouldn't say photorealistic, but this is really gritty, and now this looks kind of smooth, so I might have to touch that up. And he also looks a little bit more feminine than I was going for. I was going for like a Fabio, but anyway, that's where we're at. So I'm gonna be working on this today, and I can show you what I'm going to plug it into before I get back to painting. So in the game I'm working on, oh, hold on a minute, I hear my own voice coming through here because I have my YouTube video up. Okay. So in the game I'm working on, it's going to be kind of a retro fantasy multiplayer deck builder game, and pull it down here. You're going to be able to choose 4 classes. Actually, it's unfortunate. 1 second here. One day I'll get my stream on the ball, my streaming capabilities on the ball. Okay. So if you can see, oh, you can't. Why not? Oh, whatever. Okay. So ignore that you can only see half the screen, because I'm just not going to fiddle with that right now. But this is a game I'm working on. It's going to be a deck builder, kind of retro fantasy style, so you're going to be able to dungeon crawl, except do it via playing cards. And right here I've mocked up the where the profile pictures are going to go. So you could play with up to 3 opponents, and based on the class they pick, they're going to get the profile picture of the class in this logo, or in this little stats menu here. So what I'm endeavoring to do today is paint the barbarian profile picture. So close out of here. And I really want to lean into like the pulpy vintage look. I just want the game to feel both cozy and nostalgic. And 1 second here. One day I'll get my streaming act together, but I keep accidentally docking my chat. Okay. So I don't claim to be an extraordinary artist. It's funny because this whole journey came about because the whole game dev journey in my career, and actually most of my life thus far, came about because I started being really interested in art. And the first thing that I could say that I was good at was drawing with graphite pencil. And I took a lot of pride out of that. And then that kind of segued into, well, I want to be a game artist or a technical artist. And then that made me go to college for computer science, and then I ended up doing .NET desktop development, which for enterprise software, which has nothing to do with art. But funnily enough, it's very fun. You wouldn't think that, but just creating anything is fun. Now let's figure out what I did here. So we got, this is very poorly named. I'm going to call this button, belt, and then skirt. So let's call this buckle. Okay. So my true love is on the art side of the house. And I really do enjoy coding quite a lot, but I've never been, I'm a fine coder, and I don't think I give myself enough credit, but I don't know that I'll ever be a phenomenal coder because I just don't remember the things that I need to remember, and it doesn't come as naturally to me as the creative space does. Whereas my husband he loves deep diving into the C++ proposals and all of that, and I don't think I will ever find myself reading a C++ proposal for fun. But will I watch a YouTube video of someone digitally painting in a time lapse for 2 hours? Yes. That's not to say I don't like coding. I like it quite a bit. For those that ever need to do art, I have a app recommendation, and it's called PureRef, and it's free. Let me see if I can drag it over here. The UI is a little bit weird, but so I just went on Pinterest and Google, and I found a bunch of some 80s hair metal and some barbarians, and I threw them on some pulp art stuff, and I threw them all up here. And I'm using that up here in a different monitor to try to just look at poses and get some reference details for things like the belt and the hair and the body. And then I have a Wacom Cintiq, and I don't really have an easy way to show you that, but that's here. And then let's see what else I have got going on here. If you're going to use a Wacom Cintiq tablet where they don't have the toolbar, I highly recommend, or this thing built in, because I used to have one that didn't have the screen on it, so it had this nice wheel on it. I highly recommend the Wacom Express Keys remote. It was super expensive. I think it was a couple $100, or at least $150, but it is really worth it because I use that thing all the time. The trick I found with painting is just always try to remember where the light is coming from. In this case, it's coming from kind of up here and going downwards. And never try to paint anatomy without references. I did start reading a book on how to draw anatomy without references, which is way beyond my capabilities, but one day I'd love to get to that level. I went to a barbecue today at a friend's house, and it was really fun because I've been desperately trying to get everyone in my circle to read Dungeon Crawler Carl. And finally, I love if you want to be a good friend, if someone recommends something to you and you actually watch it or read it, then you're a good friend. But I recommended Dungeon Crawler Carl a couple months ago to these guys, and my friend had in fact read it, and we were gushing about it, so it was so fun. So we got to do that today. But right now I'm on to a series that I got recommended to by a coworker that was really big into fantasy, but he, even though he loved Lord of the Rings, he said his favorite fantasy series is this one that I'm reading now, and it's called The Rift War Saga, or Rift War Chronicles by Raymond Feist. So I just finished Magician Apprentice. I'm on Magician Master. And, I thought there wasn't really anything extraordinary about the first book. I'd actually read it before and it didn't really stand out to me. But I must just be in a time in my life right now where cozy, kind of generic fantasy really does stand out, or is much more appealing to me than it was when I read it the first time around, because I'm really enjoying it now. Or it could be that the world building in this in the sequel is a little bit more fleshed out than in the original. Although what I'm finding in the sequel, it's getting a little bit better now because it's told from many different POVs, but one thing I don't like much about sci-fi typically, and the reason I like fantasy more, is that sci-fi often has characters that are very emotionally disconnected, or alien in their, not alien from the planet, off planet, but I just mean robotic maybe, or cold, or formal to the point where you just can't, I as a reader can't form any emotional connection with them. And what I'm finding in this book is there's a little bit of that when the character, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but one of the characters undergoes something that kind of makes him detached, and then it's at that point it's like, well, what happened to the character that I know and love? But it does get better there. Then what else happened? So we had some approximately 45 person birthday party for my son last weekend, which was really awesome. He just turned 3, and he just got Dudley Dursley with his amount of presents. He had a lot of presents, and a lot of people showed up to send him love, so that was very cool. The other thing I recommend if you're just getting into digital painting, which I kind of put myself in that category, is always work on different layers, which is something I'm actually not doing right now. I mean, I have different layers, but I think generally a better luck if you keep your layers tidy and do things like highlights on a separate layer. But for some of these things, I'm not really taking the time to do that. I know what I want to put on his button. Skull seems to be a pretty common motif, but maybe I'll just leave it blank for now and go back to it if I get inspired. It's a nice color for a brass button. The brush I'm using doesn't really do small well, which is kind of tricky. It's fine details because of its spacing. So I originally wanted to have a vertical slice done by September, but now my goal is by October. Because when you've got a 3-year-old and a job and a husband, And just trying to do all of your adult responsibilities. I find it simply find it very difficult to carve out time every day. It's also extremely important to me to do so. It's really fun, and it's like, it's my me time. But hopefully things are calming down on the work front and I can get back into it more regularly. And exciting news, I'm almost at 100 subscribers on my channel, which is really cool. I've been checking it. I think we're at 90 something, 94, 95. And we're getting up there. Very cool. And we're almost at 200 stars on our GitHub repo. So I told my husband we're going to have a century party when both things cross the threshold. It's kind of exciting putting yourself out there in the world. I was always so afraid to. We've been working on the game engine for a very long time. Since like 2018, 2019, I don't even know. And only now are we actually being brave enough to put our face up in the world. Because game dev and streaming game dev are definitely two separate hobbies. But I'm really enjoying streaming. You know, I'm not a Linux dev, but I will recommend you a channel. Let me find out what it is. And welcome to the stream, by the way. I am one of those fabled Windows C++ developers, but there is a girl who has a channel. Okay, her channel name is Sudo, S-U-D-O, Love Me Baby. And she does a very similar thing to me. She does Vulkan game dev in C++, but she's totally all in on Linux. So she would be a good one to watch. I don't know how to... Let me just show you her channel. Here you go. This person would be really good to watch for what the Linux stack looks like for development. I haven't figured out how to chat back with how to type back to my chat, so I don't know how to send you a link, but hopefully you can find it from that. I think VS Code is cross-platform, isn't it? If it is, VS Code is great. Have you decided what kind of graphics library you're going to use? I think a lot of people start with OpenGL. All the cool kids start with Vulkan and bite off way more than they can chew. Vulkan's very, start with Vulkan if you're a masochistic person that doesn't actually want to accomplish anything except for deep learning, because you do learn a lot. I would assume you learn, well, if you are going Vulkan, nice, welcome to the club. I didn't know a thing about graphics APIs when I started writing the Vulkan library, and it was just so much. It was diving into the deep end, and I came out the other side. There's still a lot I don't know about graphics libraries, but there's a very specific Vulkan related things that I do know about graphics libraries now. Yeah, I use something called the Diligent library now, which is really, I highly recommend it. It's like it's kind of its own API you can think of, but it's got its own. He has his own API over all the things you can typically do in a lower level language like Vulkan. It's closer to DirectX 12 than it is Vulkan, just syntactically. But the cool thing about it is it's cross-platform, so Linux, Windows, and Mac. Although I think you have to pay for Mac. It's open source for Linux and Windows. And then also cross API, so you can, under the hood, you can build for OpenGL, I think either WebGL or WebGPU, I'm not sure which one. Metal, but that one costs money. And then all the others are free. DirectX 11, DirectX 12, and OpenGL. Oh, you do? See, I wish I had a job that was closer to what my interests are, because I do legacy .NET desktop development, so I sometimes C#, but a lot of times VB, and we're still on the framework 4.8, which is relevant in the sense that like staying sharp, and a lot of the coding practices don't really transfer from like enterprise business software to C++ low-level game dev. But I think it'd be so convenient to have more overlap between what I spend my time doing during the day and what I like to do in the evenings. So what do you do for work where you get to learn Vulkan? I'm jealous. Oh, that's so cool. I tried to, before I went back to work after my son was born, I tried to apply for some graphics programming jobs, and I just got reamed. I was very unprepared and did not have the skill set I needed yet. That's awesome that you work in AAA game optimization. You could optimize our open source game engine for us for free if you want to, because it's very not optimal right now. How did you learn that all? I'm gonna go darker on this side of the belt because it's more in shadow. In fact, I should probably do that same thing for this buckle. That's super cool. Good for you. That's what the one thing I tell people if they say how much of what you learned in college is applicable to your job, and I feel like almost none of it is, except for that Like the idea that you're given a hard task and you have to learn it by yourself is a skill that I learned in college for the first time. And that skill is directly applicable to the job that I have now. The other weird spot that I'm in, and I really do enjoy my current job. I'm not looking for a new job, but I've been a principal sometimes, and I've been a staff. Other times, I'm currently a staff. But in the .NET desktop world, it's a lot easier than C++ and graphics programming generally. And so then I find that if I were to switch into a graphics programming role for a company professionally, that I would want to put myself somewhere in the mid-level category, because I don't have the 15 years of experience that I do have is not applicable at all really to graphics programming. So everything, I'm just completely self-taught for graphics programming and C++. But I don't want to get like 2 levels of a drop pay wise, and I think that from what I've heard, C++ generally is both harder and lower paid roles than like just SaaS software, which is insane to me because it's so much harder and the skill set is so much more demanding. So that's one thing I would be worried about, but I'm really not qualified to be a principal graphics programming engineer. I'm somewhere like in between junior and mid-level as far as my skills, and that's where I would self-rank. No, maybe mid-level. I don't know. I think I often don't give myself enough credit, but then you get questions like, can you implement a vector class in like the std vector class? And I cannot. Although that really was a good interview question. My husband could. He could probably get it dead on the money. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm getting my information from, because every salary is so different. They should. It's a much, much, much harder job. Let's add another button hanging out in the back. I think that would look nice. Just peeking right out. Do you like your job? Oh, that's so good for you, Shore Featured Clips. You're living the damn dream. I also like mine. Well, I would not go so far as to say that every day feels like a vacation, but I do generally have fun most days. So if you do 3 AAA game optimization, do you have a recommendation for for both a good 3D like a graphics GPU profiler tool and a tutorial on how to use it? Because I wanted to try to dive into that, and I tried to download NVIDIA Insights and it was just too much. I could not make heads or tails of the interface, and then I tried to find some tutorials and some docs and I just couldn't make any traction. So if you have recommendations for a GPU profiling tool, I just use RenderDoc right now, and I don't think it's very good at this because you can click there's a stopwatch icon in RenderDoc that will tell you how much each draw call cost in terms of time in milliseconds, but every time you click the watch, I think it averages across frames or something, but there's always such a huge variance that it doesn't seem very useful. But I feel very, my hands are very tied without having that capability. And then we use Optic just for CPU profiling. That can be useful because it's, okay, here's the beginning of the draw call, here's the end of the draw call, thus your draw call took however many milliseconds, but I really need to find a good profiling tool. Yeah, well, I'm sure if you know how to use it, maybe it's just so confusing. I don't even know if I'm saying the right... RenderDoc's your enemy? Oh, tell me all your secrets, because I really like RenderDoc. Insight was insane. I just could not understand what was happening there. But I like RenderDoc a lot. But yes, pass along your secrets. I would love to learn them. RenderDoc. I suppose RenderDoc would be your enemy if you need to use it for profiling, because that clock icon just is not accurate. What? Oh. I'm so curious about that. Talk more about that. I don't think I know what you mean by it inserted some custom shader code and VK create pipelines into the frame. Like it... Are you talking about in like the timeline view? It inserted VK create pipelines? Like in the event browser? Oh, I'm realizing you can't see the screen. So here in the event browser it did? That's weird. I don't even know. Does it show VK create pipelines? Where would you see that? You must, I think you know more about RenderDoc than I do, because I think this is just within this context of the frame. Are you creating pipelines in the frame? But this is what I mean. If you can do like this little clock, and it'll tell me that, okay, your total frame took 455 milliseconds, and then you click it again. Oh, it's very consistent right now. Oh, now I feel like I'm shitting on RenderDoc, and it's... Oh, there was a 1400 one. Or microseconds, I mean. Whoa. how did RenderDoc know about where your build directory is for your SPUR-V? I feel like I'm using RenderDoc wrong. Unless, are you using like a Unity or Unreal, and does it have some kind of integration with RenderDoc that I don't know about for your job? But if you have profiling tools you do recommend, send them my way. I love summer, but I'm so happy it's becoming the fall. I love fall. Oh, that's really smart. I remember last time when I was reviewing my stream, I told myself I would read out the comment that people said when I'm responding to them, so people watching the stream but not reading the comments would know. So you say that for profiling, I usually build my own Vulkan validation layer with GPU timestamps, so I know exactly what call to how long. That's so cool. That's a great idea. I want to look into building a validation layer. Thanks for the tip. How do you get a GPU timestamp? Unless, is it like a... Because I can figure out how to do that with... I guess maybe it's within the context of the Vulkan validation layer. I don't actually know what developing one of those would look like, but I imagine it would still be useful just to wrap the CPU side, wrap the individual draw call in a timestamp, if that's what you mean. But if there's some way to get like the pipeline, each stage of the pipeline's execution, or for example, or each just even execution of the pipeline per draw call, that'd be the timestamps there. I suppose there must be, because RenderDoc has them. I also torque the Mesa driver so that I know if the things I modify actually got dispatched to the ICD. Wow. That is super cool. See, I would learn so much. Like you said you learned more than a week at your job than you did in school. The same thing I could say for my job. Would love to get a graphics programming job and just... I'm sure I could catch on fast enough, because I generally learn pretty quickly, and I've survived one implementation of a Vulkan renderer. But there's just so much, like... One thing I'm really not understanding well is anything about graphics drivers. I go on to Sasha Willems' GPU info site all the time, and it gives me very low confidence that any feature set that I would release in Vulkan would work on the amount of machines I want it to work on. So I'm trying to stick on Vulkan 1.2 just so that I can support. So my plan is if I want to enable a Vulkan feature, I look at gpuinfo.org, and my benchmark is 95% of Windows and Linux devices, desktop devices, support the feature, and if they do, then I use that feature, and if they don't, then I don't. Yeah, I'm sure you could. Oh, yeah, when you're actually at the job, you can learn all these 1 week or less. I bet you could. Yeah, that's a good idea. So do you think that AI is going to take our jobs away? I think it will, it just won't for a couple of years. I think it's going to take every job away, every thinking job away, that is. Just not for a while. I think we have more time than the doomers are dooming about. Let's see how that's looking in the grand scheme of things. Looking good. It almost has too much detail though compared to the body. It might stay at this level of scope so that I can not get too much detail.
It's not all by any means.
You've got me thinking about the usefulness I could get out of a custom validation layer, and I'm thinking I'm going to try it. It sounds really fun. Oh, thank you. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm going for like the classic RPGs like Ultima and Daggerfall and Arena, and even if you go away from RPG and into point and click adventure like King's Quest, and just all the games that who was that? Who made the King's Sierra? All those types of games from the 80s and 90s. I don't know if it's just all the craziness that's going on in the world right now, but I'm having a major nostalgia attack, and I just want to have a vintage, cozy retro game that you can play with your friends, that you can also play by yourself. So I'm hoping the game has enough legs on its own, just as far as combinations of cards, and if I can balance it enough, that you don't actually need to play with other people, but that you can if you want to. But what I'm really most proud about and most excited about is the idea that, so it's a dungeon crawler, but you're essentially just playing like Dominion or any other kind of simple deck builder game, but it's just the environment around you is dungeon builder or dungeon crawler. But the thing I'm most proud about is that the way that you purchase cards, there's a library, just like in Dominion, but rather than stacking up currency, you can class into either mage, barbarian, warlock, or rogue, and each one of those classes represents either intelligence, strength, I'm trying to say them in the order that I said them, intelligence, strength, wisdom, or agility, and you can train those stats throughout the course of the game by playing certain cards, and then that will accrue stat tokens, and then you can use those stat tokens to level up, and then leveling up can get you into a skill tree menu, and from that skill tree menu you can go and buy cards to add to your deck, and that sounds really fun to me, so I'm hoping I can actually pull it off. Let's see. The hardest part is just carving out enough time to work on it. Yeah, me too. I was always in high school. I never had any friends that played games, so I played RuneScape by myself. I never partied with anyone. I played WoW by myself. I play it like a single player game, and so it's important to me that single player is an option, because what if people always talk about making friends on the internet. I don't know how people do that. I'm much more social in real life than I am over the internet. I get really shy and weird on the internet. Yeah, I agree. Oh, you said LMAO, yeah, I think making friends should be a natural process. I agree, but it's easier for me with just talking with people. Although, with streaming, I'm talking to you now, you're my friend now, short featured clips. But for some reason, just, like, how do people do it? So if you, say you're playing WoW, and you don't know anyone playing WoW, how do you do that, and then, like, somehow meet people in the game and form a party with them? Because don't they already have their own parties and everything? Nobody ever asked me to join a party in WoW. Maybe that was supposed to be my responsibility, is to be the party asker. Then the other thing I didn't so much care for in, like, the reason I was fine playing WoW by myself was I liked to really get into the immersion and pretend I was in that world. And I feel like a lot of the time now in games you just kind of want to, like, shitpost and, like, goof around, and I want players to have the option of actually getting into the immersion of the game if they so choose. To me, it's like when I want to play something, I'll ask my friends to party up if there's already a party I just joined. Oh, are you saying that you will, like, cold join an existing party? I think that's what people do. I've just been so terrified of doing that. So if there's just a party in like the party boards, you'll just go and invite yourself or ask to join in. That's got to be what most people do. I'm just frozen with terror. I'm way too shy to do that. You know, I'm thinking that maybe my fear of internet strangers comes from from playing Dota, because I have played like 1,000 hours of Dota against bots. I'm not exaggerating. I think it's 1,000 hours. Let's look. Let's see. 1,063 hours of Dota, and probably 10 of those hours are playing with real people and not against bots. I mean, I'll play with my husband and my brother and my siblings and my friends, but like we'll play against bots because the few times we've dared to venture into like the live Dota community, it's a traumatic thing. People are jerks. So I just imagine the face of every mean Dota player saying easy when they easily destroy me. When I'm like considering queuing into a lobby of people I don't know. Dota's harder than Vulcan to learn for me. Yeah. Seconded. I'm a bad Dota player. I don't know that I'm a good Vulcan developer, but I've at least been able to make an engine in Vulcan. And I can't say that I've had any amount of success in Dota. So I think that theory holds. I feel like League of Legends is OpenGL and Vulcan is Dota. Although the Vulcan community is nice. People always answer my questions when I ask them on the Vulcan Reddit. Dota community is not nice. I don't even know why I'm spending so much detail on the skirt, because I think I'm going to crop it here anyway. Joining a new group, I'd recommend to join a Discord server of that game and try to chat with people first so you can filter out jerks. That's a really good idea. I think that I just missed that socialization when I was a teen. I don't know. Discord was probably around when I was in high school. I just never heard of it because, again, I didn't have any friends that were gamers. And so I just floated around on like AOL Instant Messenger and stuff, trying to but that's what single player RPGs are for. Have you ever played Kenshi short feature clips? It's Kenshi. It is a single player game, but it's got to be one of the most fun single player games. It actually reawakened my love for gaming, which I had lost for a long time. Datwolf! Welcome back! Short Featured Clips and I were talking about how we like single player options in games because multiplayer communities can be toxic and some people don't know how to make friends with people on multiplayer games like me, because when I was in high school I played World of Warcraft as a single player game because I didn't know the social contracts around making friends online, and I still kind of don't. I just play with the people I already know. Oh, nice. What'd you get? Oh, for those only watching and not reading, Datwolf got a new monitor today. There's a mosquito in my room. Short Featured Clips. I really recommend Kenshi if you like single player games, because it's in a league of its own. It's an indie game made by one person. I think they eventually got a team, but it took them, I'm pretty sure it took them 12 years to make it. And it's like an RP, or no, it's like a sandbox game, kind of is what I would describe it. But the thing that sets it apart is that the tagline is that you are no different than an NPC. And you literally aren't. So you can be like, you'll be wandering through the desert and a limb will get cut off, and now you just have to carry on playing the game without a limb. And it's very, very cool. You have a Samsung 34-inch 4K. Holy cow. I have a Samsung. It is not an OLED and it is not 4K. It's 1440p by 2560. Is that 2K? Whatever they call that. And it is the best monitor I've ever had. In fact, I have 2 of those. Actually, I think I've bought 4 of those. My husband has 2, my brother has 1, and I have 1 of the Samsung 2560 by 1440 monitors. They're not OLED. That's awesome. Good for you, Datwolf. Yeah, I love sandbox games too. This is a very violent and very like depressing and bleak sandbox game, but it is so charming in that just how it ended up is just amazing. So Datwolf, I am today trying to make the class art. So you remember you can be either a barbarian, a warlock, a mage, or a rogue, and I'm now working on the class art for those classes. So based on what you select, it's going to be, these are going to be the loadouts of the players. So the picture that I'm working on now will go here if the player you happen to choose is a barbarian. And I'm going for like a pulp art, which is the best way I know how to explain whatever this is. So if you think about like magazines from the 40s through the 80s, often were painted, maybe even earlier 30s through the 50s maybe, were painted in this style, and I love it. But it's very hard to replicate, so that's what I'm trying to do now by using this graphite pen to try to get like this style. And then I think I'm using too many colors here in this belt, because it doesn't look quite as pulpy as the chest turned out. See you later, Short Featured Clips. Thanks for the recommendation on the validation later. I'm totally gonna do that. It is looking pretty. Oh, I did make that. Yeah, thank you. I've been working on it since this morning. I'm gonna try to get all 4 classes done in the next, probably this weekend. I don't think I can do that. Maybe I'm gonna try to get them done 1 a weekend for the next 4 weekends. Oh, Datwolf! That is quite literally going to make me cry because that is exactly what I'm going for. Literally, yeah, like the Conan magazines. That's what I'm going for. That's awesome. Yeah, like, oops. This exact... So someone on Reddit found this. It's a collection of pulp magazines. This is exactly what I'm trying to replicate. It's called the Pulp Magazine Archive on the Internet Archive. So I'm trying to go, for this guy, I'm trying to go like Conan, but a little bit more 80s rock. I'm jealous of that monitor. That is gonna be super cool. I think my color palette's too rich here. I've got to figure out. What if I don't know Red Sonja. Is it pronounced Sonia or Sanja? I guess you can't tell because we're not. Where I get the nostalgia connection is when I was a kid, I would read the Choose Your Own Adventure books, and they were always painted like this. And my gosh, I'm just having a nostalgia attack, and I want to go back to the time where you could just bike to the library. Oh, Sonia, you could just bike to the library and get a Choose Your Own Adventure book and just be transported away to a fantasy world and be sitting in your parents' basement without a care in the world. Just black and white. What kind of games are you going to play on your new monitor? Oh, nice. I got into Hearthstone for a while. It was really fun. I really like the animations when you get new cards to unlock. I think I am no longer on my... There we go. doing a stream this weekend instead of earlier last week because I was working overtime. A lot of overtime this week. So I didn't even crack open my good screen, my personal computer, until this morning. All week. It was crazy. But I got a good chunk of the morning to paint this guy, which is nice. There's nothing like just sitting down, listening to an audiobook, and drinking some coffee and doing some painting. I've never done Battlegrounds with Hearthstone. Did you ever play Dota Underlords or any of the other auto battlers like what's the League of Legends auto battler? I would remember the name if I heard it, but I played it for a little while. But I got really into Dota Underlords and Dota Auto Chess. I've been just starting to study body anatomy. I got a book called, I don't remember the name of the book or the name of the guy now. I think I talked about it on a stream a while ago. I just haven't looked at it in a while, but I started looking at how to draw heads just from memory. TFT, Teamfight Tactics, thank you. Yeah. I really like auto battlers. I didn't have as much fun with Teamfight Tactics as I did with Underlords, but they abandoned Underlords. They just never... I don't know why. People were playing it. But they just one day decided that they're not going to invest any more time and money into it. Which is a bummer. Let's go. Hi, Flippy. I'm just gonna call you Flippy. Welcome to the stream. I am making been building a game engine with my husband for like 5 years, and I'm finally making a game with it. And I've been working on it for a couple months now, but I'm making a multiplayer deck builder game like, so think of Slay the Spire or Dominion, but the environment, the setting is going to be like a vintage fantasy classic RPG. So you'll have classes you can choose from: mage, warlock, barbarian, or mage, warlock, barbarian, or rogue. And each of those will be associated with Flippy. Each of those will be associated with a statistic, and you will buy new cards by focusing your energies and training in a certain stat tree. So like, say you spend a lot of time training agility, then when you go to level up, so as you train agility, you'll acquire agility tokens, and those will be wiped out at the end of a round. So then you can use those agility tokens to like go into the skill tree menu and level up at the end of each round, and then stake up the agility skill tree. And the point of the game, and why it's going to work so well, either being single player or multiplayer, is your opponents don't really matter, the other players. You will have some limited interaction with them through your cards, but the goal will be to defeat your enemy deck. Each player will have their own enemy deck, and you won't want to defeat all the mobs in your enemy deck before the players defeat all the mobs in theirs. So instead of having like the classic victory point, the victory points will be how many enemies you've defeated. So right now I'm just working on class art, trying to get the barbarian going. I'm going for like a pulpy magazine, like pulp magazine / romance novel Fabio for the barbarian / 80s hair metal. which is ambitious, but we're getting there. Well, welcome. This is a great place for people learning game dev because I am learning game dev. I don't know what LOVE is. He does need, yeah, he needs something in his belt buckle. I'm actually kind of punting on it because I'm not sure that I'm even going to have it in the screen. Thank you. It might not even be in the screen. I might just have this because I'll pull up the game again. But yeah, I agree. I wanted to put a skull in there, but so if you see, let me see if you can see that. So right now the placeholder art is just a card, but this card will be replaced with that profile icon, and it's roughly gonna be, it's close to 16:9 aspect ratio, so it's wider than it is tall, this box here. And so we really won't be able to get much of him in there because I'll probably scale him up. It'll probably be something like maybe the belt buckle will be in there, but probably closer to something like that. Maybe just his face and sword and his armpit. So I'm punting on the belt buckle because, you know, it would be nice to have a full body art in the manual or something. But you're right, Devilf, some kind of nice belt buckle is needed. Thanks, Flippy. Yeah, I'm trying to use a graphite brush so that I get like the pulp style, but I was doing good this morning with the chest, but this doesn't look pulpy at all because it's got too much color variation. But again, I'm punting on that because hopefully it'll be cut out of frame. I've never heard of the Love Framework. What is it? What does it do for you? Gotta find a nice fantasy sword reference art. The hardest part of art, I think, is coloring and trying to get a consistent color tone. You guys can see this. I'm just looking for good color themes to try to imitate here. Oh man, does looking at this just fill you guys with so much nostalgia? What a cool... Oh, I'm so glad I found this magazine. Is this the... Did Rankin Bass do Lord of the Rings, or did they just do The Hobbit? And did Ralph Bakshi do Lord of the Rings? The animated one? I feel like Rankin Bass did The Hobbit and Ralph Bakshi did Lord of the Rings. This movie was actually kind of a horror show, but I liked The Hobbit. Throw this in my reference art here. If you guys are ever doing art, I highly recommend this application. It's called PureRef, and you can just copy and paste any image you have on here, and then you can zoom in when you want to look at it. Oh, that's perfect. So Detwolf, for those that are watching and not reading Detwolf's comments, he's holding a chopped off head by the hair, and the other hand is what he imagined. So what I initially had is a shield. Oh, I don't think you can see it. Maybe if I put my purple background, it's gonna be like a buckler. Oh, actually, it's much easier to paint with. I'm gonna put the purple background back on. But Detwolf just recommended that he's holding a bloodied head by the hair, which is so much better. That's a great idea. I use a painting pen and a board. I can show you my setup here. So I used to have a Wacom Intuos, which does not have the screen, but I recently splurged, maybe a year ago, on this, which is a Wacom Cintiq, and lets you draw right on the board. And then I have a tablet or a pen. What do they call this? This is called a stylus. And then if you're gonna get the Cintiq, I highly recommend also spending another $200 or something on this thing, which it seems like this is just an Express Keys remote. It seems like a horrible waste of money, but it's really super valuable, because if you look at the tablet, it does not have any buttons on it at all except for the power button. So then you're either forced to use your keyboard for things like undo and resizing and grabbing the paintbrush, or you just have this thing which has a bunch of programmable buttons on there. So you have like undo just with your left hand or your non-dominant hand, and resizing the mouse with your non-dominant hand, and it's really cool. Alright, I'll be back in like 2 minutes, bathroom break, and it's very hot in here, so I'm gonna go turn the air conditioning on. Okay, the light's coming from here. I have to remember that from fact. I don't remember that. Raise your hand if you're out of breath from coming up the stairs. It's not great. I feel like right now at this stage of my life with a toddler and a full-time job, I can choose either to spend my free time working on this game, or I can use my free time to get in shape. There was a brief period of time when I first started streaming, like maybe 2 months ago, where I was doing both. I was getting in shape, or doing all of it. I was getting in shape and also streaming. And then one all-nighter where we had to take my son to the ER just totally knocked me off kilter. But I can slowly feel my chi is rebalancing and I'm getting back into routine. But it's an easy choice because getting in shape isn't fun and game dev is fun. My fitness goal is to be able to do a pike press handstand, which is where you stand up and put your hands above your head, and then you just slowly lean onto your hands, and then you slowly turn your body upside down. And I can do something like 15 push-ups or something, so I've got a long way to go. I was able to finally do a pull-up the other day. Pull up. I was impressed. I was really proud. The other fitness thing I want to work on is my posture. Pull-ups are really hard. Actually, it's not actually a pull-up. Pull-up is a hard one. Pull-up is like this. I can't do that. I can do it shit up. But the other thing I want to work on fitness-wise is my posture. Because I was doing some overtime, and it wasn't mandatory. I just wanted to. This last week because I was behind on a project, and I found that my natural posture, which is probably all the time on the stream, is not like, it's not good. It's like like this. And I found out you can get something called a dowager's hump, where like if you're, I think they call it like programmer posture, but basically if you sit like a gargoyle for 16 hours a day, then your body will slowly turn into a gargoyle shape. Oh well. I don't see the problem too much with turning into a gargoyle because it's obviously the natural shape that I sit in for programming anyway, and programming is how I occupy most of my time, or at least sitting on the computer. So maybe that's where we're all trending with evolution, is we're just going to start trending towards gargoyle shape. What's a farmer's walk? I suppose you have... that will try to explain to me in text what a farmer's walk is. Maybe barbells in each arm and just walk. Oh! Okay. I can actually do that. That's a great thing to add to the routine. Oh, that's a great idea. I just found I think it's a Spotify playlist, but it's 20-minute meditations specifically for walking. So you can just put on a 20-minute meditation and go for a walk, and that looks really fun. I haven't done them yet, but I want to do it one of these days. My dog has been having trouble pooping, which is TMI for everybody, but it's kind of resulted. We've taken him to the vet a bunch of times, and now he's on some nerve pain medication. But now because of that, he doesn't want to go on walks. He's afraid that if he's outside, it's going to trigger him to poop. But now that he's on the nerve pain medication, I think we're on the up and up. No, that's a good idea. So I don't remember who I was telling this to. But or maybe I was just talking to myself still at the beginning of my stream. But funnily enough, I got into the whole game dev, programming, all of that, because I really like art, and I wanted to be like a technical artist or a 3D modeler was my original professional career plan, which is what made me get into computer science. And then from computer science, I ended up as a legacy.net desktop developer, which is kind of where I found myself specializing. But I don't regret a single step in the path because I find my job really fun. And now that I have the computer programming knowledge, I have at least like a journeyman's capability for everything that I need to do in game dev, minus music. But I got really lucky because my husband is really good at music. So I have enough skills to be able to do everything I need to do, but not yet well. The well part takes a lot of time, and I don't really have the time yet. But I think if I just keep practicing each of the various aspects of game dev, I can tell that I will get good enough to make good quality stuff here soon. But it's interesting where life takes you, because originally the computer science degree was an afterthought. I had a scholarship to go to art school, and it was kind of boiled down to, do I want to go to art school or do I want to go get a computer science degree? And one of them seemed a lot more a lot less risky, and so I took the safe choice. I got a computer science degree instead of going to art school, and for a while I regretted it. I definitely don't regret it now. Yeah, we do. I just don't understand why everybody in the world doesn't want to be a game dev. Maybe everybody does want. I know a lot of people do, but it's just so fun. It's like, if you like art, you could do the art side of game dev. If you like storytelling, you can do the storytelling side of game dev. If you like music, you can write songs for games. I don't think there's any career that would be more fun.
What new horizons can we look now? Where are tomorrow's opportunities? The frontiers of the future are not on any map. But now, what's ahead of us?
No one's too old to do anything, that wolf. You're still alive and still able to sit at a computer and type. Unless you're on your phone. But I would not recommend doing game dev from a phone, but you said you gotta do monitors, so... Therein, you are not too old. What I'm worried about for kids and for my people of my son's age, it's as he gets older, is the joy of discovery of learning going to be completely taken away by LLMs and AI? Because even I'm finding now that even though I've gone the hard road and I've taken done all the critical thinking practice, I can see that LLMs are going to make me dumber. Because why would I just go and read the documentation when 2 years ago, if you asked ChatGPT for coding help or like, how would I implement this method or does this method exist, it was a far worse alternative than Google, because it would usually say, yes, that method exists, it's called this, and it would give you some phantom method that didn't exist in the API. But nowadays, it's pretty darn accurate. It'll give you a very well thought out response. So say like you're looking for some kind of method in the standard library in C++, for example, and you're too lazy to Google it, ChatGPT will usually tell you what the method name is, how to use it with examples. And I'm worried that like that's going to, with people vibe coding now and like even like making AI art and all of this, it's fun to do things poorly and figure out how to do them properly. That kind of stuff is what life is about, and I'm worried that we're just going to lose that as a society. Oh, in other news, speaking about... Yeah, I know. But not just kids, even. I want instant gratification. I'm stuck to my phone. I have to be conscious against doom scrolling and stuff. I'm worried about that, too. Oh, but I have big news because I finally got pre-approved for my jaw surgery, and I get to have braces put on in 3.5 weeks, which will be really exciting because I'm starting to get a lisp now from my jaw and starting to get like sleeping problems I've kind of had for a while, although the sleep study told me my sleep isn't related to my jaw at all. But I'm hopefully, if all things go well, I'm going to be able to get a jaw surgery to fix the alignment of my jaws because they're kind of weird in about a year. So I get to have braces on now in about a month. And I get to go down that road. I've been working towards this for about a year, so it's very exciting. I have a overbite. You can't really tell, but it's my top teeth totally cover my bottom teeth. I'm really, really excited to get that fixed. I was supposed to get a jaw surgery when I was a kid, but the choice came down to, because I had braces when I was 15, the choice came down to, do I want the jaw surgery or do I want to go on the exchange trip that I was working towards to go to Japan for a year? And ask any 15-year-old, would you rather have braces on longer and get a surgery, or would you rather live in Japan for a year? So guess which one I picked, and I'm very happy that I did. But that was my opportunity to get the jaw surgery when I was a kid. So they ended up taking my braces off so that I could go and wouldn't have to worry about orthodontia and stuff. And that was still, I would make that choice the same way 100 times over. That was very fun. Yeah, I was just gonna say, Dat Wolf, I think I'm running out of steam here myself. I'm still gonna try to stream weekly, so it's good seeing ya, and hopefully see you next week. And alright, y'all, I'm ramping up on the Barbarian for the day. I'll probably try to finish him tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'll stream it or not. It'll probably be pretty early morning. But thank you all for joining, and I'll probably start a regular stream here soon. Maybe I'm thinking either Wednesday nights or Friday nights, but we'll figure out when that is. But yeah, thanks for watching, and like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And I'll see you next time.